Good evening or good morning, wherever you are in the world. I'm Regina Yao, and I'm moderating the 7th Google Hangout session of our first ever International Women's Day edition of the Read for Pixels campaign. Through Read for Pixels, the Pixel Project is collaborating with 13 award-winning best-selling female authors to raise awareness about violence against women and to raise funds towards the Celebrity Male Role Model Pixel Reveal campaign, which aims to raise $1 million to be shared between the USA's National Coalition Against Domestic Violence and the Pixel Project to keep our efforts to end violence against women alive and kicking. We'll be telling you a little bit more about the Read for Pixels fundraiser at the end of this session. It has lots and lots and lots of exclusive author goodies. And you can find out more about the Pixel Project at www.pixelproject.net if you want to know more about our work. And today we have a very special guest. We are having a live discussion and Q&A session with New York Times bestselling author Charlaine Harris, the creator of the Southern Vampire Mystery series, also known as the SOOKIE Stackhouse series, which HBO adapted into their very popular True Blood series, the Harper Connolly series, and the Midnight Texas series. Charlaine has also donated a very cool experience prize to the stash of author goodies that we have up as perks for donors at the Read for Pixels Indiegogo fundraising page, which is the http://r4p Indiegogo IWD, and we'll put up a slide with that link a little later. And please give generously. All funds go towards our Celebrity Male Role Model campaign, and you'll be supporting global efforts to end violence against women. And now I'll switch over to Charlaine. Hey, Charlaine.
Hi, Regina. How are you? Hello, people. How are all you doing?
Oh, you're doing fine. Yeah, I think you're getting really excited. So, Charlaine, you're going to read from a book of yours that hasn't been published yet.
I am. I'm going to read from the book that will be out in May, on May 5th, at least here in the U.S., that's the pub date, called Day Shift. It's the second Midnight Texas book. And let me set it up for you a little bit. My character, Manfred Bernardo, who is a psychic, is doing personal readings at a really plush hotel in Dallas. So he's not in Midnight at the moment. But he's encountered Olivia Charity, who also lives in Midnight, at the hotel. And he's had a very strange encounter with her and the police. So he is about to conduct these personal readings that he does for select clients. He has appointments to fill the day. He was glad to have some time to collect himself before his first client arrived. Not only did he need to push away the gnawing worry about Olivia and what she might or might not have done, but he had to prepare himself for the day to come. Manfred looked forward to exercising his true gift with both excitement and apprehension, and the last thing he needed was to brood about the dead people. He was worried they would contact him. He was very grateful he hadn't met them or touched them. That would have made it easier for Stuart and Lucy Devlin to track him down from the blue hereafter. Manfred's first and second appointments of the day went well. He was able to tell Jane Lee that her grandmother approved of Jane's fiancé. Later, he was able to suggest a place for Robert Hernandez to look for his mother's gold necklace. He lay down during his lunch hour with his eyes closed, and his energy level went back up. Manfred greeted his 1 o'clock appointment with some pleasure. He had had sessions with Rachel Goldthorpe before. She was a long-time client who actually lived in Bonnet Park. He'd visited her home. Rachel was in her mid-60s with 2 daughters and a son and several grandchildren. She loved the grandchildren and her daughters, who made her happy. Rachel had been widowed less than 12 months before. She came to Manfred because she missed her husband terribly, not least because Morton had been the only one who could handle their son, Louis. Manfred had actually met the Goldthorpe daughters, but briefly. His opinions about them had been formed from Rachel's anecdotes. Annelle and Rosanna, the daughters, now in their late 30s, seemed both loving and dutiful. But Rachel's youngest child, Louis, was batshit crazy. According to his mom, Louis had been in and out of trouble, in and out of mental health care since he'd been 14. Now he was 32, never married, and obsessed with his mother's possessions. After losing his last job, he'd moved back into her pool guest house. From there, Louis watched Rachel's every move and complained endlessly if she gave money to charity or even took her old clothes to Goodwill. Today, Rachel wanted to consult with her husband Morton about the problem of Louis. Manfred was fond of Rachel, at least in part because he'd had great success contacting Morton Goldthorpe, who urgently wanted to communicate with his wife. Since Morton had passed away, Manfred's sessions with Rachel had been rewarding and exciting. When he'd sent out an email blast to announce he was available for private sittings again, Rachel had been among the first to make an appointment. When Manfred answered his door, he was shocked to see how wretched his client looked. "What's wrong?" he asked before he could think how tactless that sounded. I know, I look bad," she said. "I'm getting over pneumonia." Rachel trudged past him and spotted the table, steered towards it. Her breathing was heavy and audible. Rachel herself was heavy, but she'd always been bouncy and vigorous. Today her flesh seemed to sag on her bones. There were circles under her eyes. And then downstairs, somehow I dropped my purse. Everything went everywhere. They had to help me gather everything up. "Rachel, should you even be here?" he asked, breaking one of his own rules. He never commented on a client's appearance, pro or con. She made an effort to smile, patting his shoulder. "I'm a lot better. This is the first time I've been out in 3 weeks. This morning I got my hair done and came to see you. Boy, does it feel good to be out of the house." She patted her salt and pepper hair, which was arranged in its usual stiff curls. Her T-shirt read, "World's Best Grandma." "Who gave you the shirt?" Manfred said, figuring it was the kind of thing she'd like him to notice. Rachel sank into the chair with obvious relief. She pulled a refillable black bottle decorated with butterflies out of her purse and put it on the table. "Annelle's kids. And Rosanna's twins gave me the water bottle last Mother's Day," she said. "So much better than using a new plastic bottle every time, right? Better for the environment." "You sure you feel up to this?" Manfred said. He didn't want to persist, but he was more than a little worried. "I've been looking forward to this for weeks," she said firmly. "Let's get to it. I need some good in my life. Otherwise, Louis will be the death of me. Did I tell you he'd moved into the pool house?" She took a big drink and sighed, recapping the bottle and extending her plump hands. "Ready." Manfred sat opposite her and reached across the table to take her hands in his own. Other clients had different preferences. They wanted tarot or the mirror, or they brought a loved one's possession for Manfred to hold. Rachel always wanted touch. He wrapped her chilly fingers in his warm ones and bowed his head, his eyes closed. "Morton Goldthorpe, husband of Rachel. I'm searching for you," he said. "Rachel needs you." "Oh boy," she said, "do I ever? That Louis. He told me he was going to take charge of my jewelry. Take charge, like I was an Alzheimer's person. So I had to hide my diamonds and my rubies." Manfred heard her words from a distance. He was busy opening himself to receive Morton. but he felt relief that Rachel had hidden her jewelry. Though she dressed and looked exactly like thousands of grandmothers who passed through the doors of any given Walmart every day, Rachel was very wealthy. Morton had made a lot of money in real estate and had been smart enough to get out when the getting was good. Manfred had no idea what Rachel's bank statement would read, but he knew she was well able to afford his fees and evidently a lot of sparklies, too. All these considerations faded away as Manfred connected with the plane that housed the dead. His eyes were closed so that he could see the world better. He was faced with the usual wall of billowing mist, out of which faces manifested with frightening rapidity. And there was a face he knew, approaching rapidly through the mist. Rachel's fingers felt oddly slack in his grip, but he kept his focus with ferocious intensity. "Here he is," Manfred murmured, feeling Morton speeding through him. The spirit manifested a little differently today. Usually, Morton stopped at Manfred's fingertips, content to touch his wife through Manfred. But today, Morton ripped through Manfred with such force that he passed right into his Rachel. "You will not suffer, my dearest Rachel," Manfred said, to his own surprise. Rachel said dazedly, and to Manfred's ear she sounded both excited and a bit startled, but not frightened. Manfred's eyes flew open to look right into Rachel's, and in that flash of a moment, her eyes went blank. She slumped forward onto the table, and her fingers relaxed completely. Morton flowed back through Manfred, taking Rachel with him. For 5 seconds, Manfred couldn't see anything at all, and he felt utterly empty. It seemed like an eternity until his vision cleared. Immediately, he noted the limpness in Rachel's body. He knew that she was dead. He let go of her hands to wrap his arms across his chest. He shivered all over. He wanted to cry or scream or run shouting from the room, but he did none of those things. Sometimes, as his grandmother had often said, shit just happens. He rose to walk unsteadily to the nearest phone. He punched a number to reach the front desk. "Is there a doctor in the hotel?" he asked, hearing his voice crack. He hadn't sounded as uncertain since he was 13. "My guest is unconscious," he said. "In fact, I think she's dead." And that is one of the opening chapters for Day Shift.
Oh, great. Is that the same Manfred who appeared in the Harper Connolly mysteries?
It is. Manfred
Oh,
Bernard.
yeah.
And he's
he had.
Midnight too.
Oh, he had a crush on Harper, I remember.
He did. He did.
Okay.
So I just liked him, and a lot of readers seem to like him. So I carried the character over, and he lives in Midnight, Texas now.
Oh, because he's the one who has the grandma who has abilities, yeah?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
But she died in the last Harper Connolly.
I haven't got to that book yet. Oh, no.
Oh, shame on you, Regina.
I'm still reading it. I haven't got to the end.
That's okay. I don't expect everyone to have read every book I've ever written. It's really nice, but I don't expect it.
Okay, so for those of you who are watching, we're going to move into the discussion session now. Please feel free to type in your questions, and Charlaine will answer them. In fact, Charlaine's more than ready to answer them. But Charlaine and I are going to have a little chat about female characters and women in pop and geek culture and violence against women, and we'll just monitor for your questions. So whatever questions you have, just type them in. Okay. So Charlaine, your books are definitely female-led. From Sookie Stackhouse to Harper Connolly to Aurora, Teagarden, all of whom navigate their way through tricky and tough situations. So what is your definition of a, in open and closed inverted commas, strong female character? And do you think it's important for authors to include strong female characters in their books?
That's hard because not every book needs a strong female character, weirdly enough. I think you have to have the characters that make the book move along. I hope that women are being portrayed as more than just vessels for the male's intelligence and seed, because women are total people. And I think that women are being portrayed a little more fairly. I don't know a book where I've read much of a stereotyped woman recently. Thank God. I write strong women because I don't. When I write a protagonist, she has to be able to carry the book. It would be hard to do that with a weak or indecisive or clingy protagonist, because that's her job, is to move the book forward. And that's why I write strong women. Also, that's my natural tendency. I am a strong woman. And I like to see the portrayal of complete people in a book. I probably repeat myself.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, but though, like recently like books like Twilight, this female character isn't exactly strong, but she still manages to, well, the book still trundle along.
She's incredibly persistent.
Oh yeah, Bella, one thing that people don't credit her for, I guess, is, she does keep pushing and pushing for what she wants, even though it's in a way that
she's tenacious. I mean, if that's all you can find, that's what you got to go with. I am happy that Stephanie Meyer made a lot of money on those books. I'm all for women making money for their work. I didn't think the message was a message I would want to give my daughter. I have 2 sons and a daughter, because to me it seems to be more about obsession rather than love. Love is based on knowledge. But at least I have to give Bella credit for some courage and some tenacity, really, in the balance of things. And obviously there was something about those books that hit a nerve I didn't know was out there.
Oh yeah, I mean the spin-off, 50 Shades of Grey, that was a huge hoo-ha in the last.
Yeah, there too. Bondage just has like zero appeal for me, as a rape survivor. And I just, I know it's a fantasy, but just for myself, it's just, not appealing at all. In fact, it's very off-putting to even consider. So,
yeah.
But there again, she never has to work again a day in her life. So I'm glad she made some money.
Yeah, it's, there's a lot of pushback from anti-violence against women activists, anti-domestic violence activists, even pushback from the BDSM community, because, we all deem it quite a dangerous sort of fantasy for women to buy into. And then there's pushback from the readers who say, but there's no harm in this. But then you hear of cases after the movie came out. We've heard of at least 2 cases where young girls and their boyfriends attempt to replicate some of the scenes, and it resulted in a couple of deaths. Yeah. So, but it was just, I guess, it's just one of those things where, you know, people have been predicting, and I guess it also, what the silver lining is, it actually shows the power of pop culture, the power of culture to influence people,
Yeah.
to do stuff. And so we need to be really, really careful with the way that, even if it's just fiction, I guess, I don't know what you think about it, but, you know, I guess maybe pop culture producers might need to start thinking a little bit more when they create stuff, from lyrics to characters to what do you think?
That's a very difficult topic because a writer should be able to write whatever
Hmm.
she's drawn to write. Uh, and obviously, Miss James,
Hmm.
you know, struck the mother lode. People all over the world have read those books and really loved them. I Writers can't ever imagine what use their works will be turned to or what people will think of doing with the scenes included in them before they appear. And I
Hmm.
think it's possible to write with that in your mind. That's like self-censorship. So does the writer have a responsibility to only write healthy, wholesome things? I don't think so. Yet at the same time, this is a tragic thing. If someone loses their life because they're trying to recreate a scene in a book, I
Hmm.
don't know. I don't know how you can allow for that when you're a writer.
Yeah. So anyway, so back to talking about female protagonists. So you've been writing proactive, well-rounded female protagonists for a long time now. I mean, we were chatting before this, and you know, even at least one of our moderators have been reading it for the last 10 to 15 years, and it's always been, you know, funny, proactive, you know, spirited female protagonists. And what would be interesting to get your opinion on is, especially in the young adult genre, well, it's not genre, but in the young adult market, you know, we're currently seeing what one person calls the Hermione effect in pop culture now, with the influx of strong, capable, and complex female protagonists such as Katniss in the Hunger Games, and obviously Hermione in Harry Potter. Do you think this is simply a trend of for the moment, or do you think it's a movement that's been developing for a while now?
I think it's a movement, and I am delighted. I would much rather have Katniss as a role model for an adolescent girl than Bella. That's my personal preference. I think Katniss she certainly has her faults and flaws, but she is strong and determined, and she is brave too, and she has very confused feelings about a lot of things, like most young women do. So I applaud that. I think it's about time. We had plenty of strong young male characters, and I think it's only right to have females who are just as capable and just as warrior like or clever or talented.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, with what would you say about geek culture in general now? You know, it has its share of critics saying that it's still too male dominated, and we were talking about Sifwa earlier, and you know, despite a number of prominent female authors like yourself being really well respected, really well known, and so what do you think needs to be done to make geek culture as a whole, whether it's comic cons or gaming or books, what do you think needs to be done to make it more welcoming for women and girls?
Well, I think that we're raising the awareness of the fact that it's not okay to grope women or call them by dismissive sexual terms, um, because they are dressed in a revealing costume. The two things seem to be associated, but they're not. Just because a woman is dressed to please herself does not mean she's inviting being touched. And I think it's good that conventions are noticing that trend and that they are making stipulations part of the convention to say, if you do this, you're out. If you break this rule, you're gone. Because I've known women who have had terrible times at conventions, specifically science fiction conventions, because they were treated like objects rather than human beings. So I applaud that. I think it's going to take education, and I think it's going to take women calling out men on that kind of behavior.
Oh yeah,
Not
yeah.
men.
Yeah, we were chatting just now about the costumes. I mean, we were chatting about the cosplay costumes for women and the comic book characters, and I think we got into a little tiny rant about how who wants to go into battle against supervillains with your boobs hanging out, or with in a swimming costume. And Wonder Woman, yeah, and Wonder Woman. I was telling you about Wonder Woman. I need to send you that picture I found. They've just redesigned it, and she looks kick-ass. She has armor. She has, I think, chainmail. She has leggings, and I don't think she has. They didn't show her footwear, but my fair guess would be it would be flat boots, and
Right.
it was, and the comments were almost split down on that picture was almost split down according to gender. The male fans were moaning about, this is not classic Wonder Woman. This looks very tacky. This looks very cheesy. And then you have, women, female fans going, yes, 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 finally we have a costume where, it's actually feasible to imagine Wonder Woman as the Amazon going in, she's Amazonian, I think, going into battle with this. Can you imagine her holding a spear? Because if you notice, I don't know if you watched the Hunger Games movies, but when Katniss goes into the arena, she's not wearing a swimming suit. She's not wearing a bikini. She's actually wearing very practical stuff: flat boots, pants, body armor sometimes,
Yep.
hood, camouflage gear. So it's and I'll tell you something. We had Google Hangout with Shannon McGuire last week, and
She's so great.
she is awesome. Shannon is awesome. And you know how you were mentioning how in Comic Cons women doing cosplay get harassed, and she was telling us, giving us this great story about how one of her friends dressed up as Emma Frost from the X-Men, and they were just, both of them were just standing there and chatting, and then they were like these men with these cameras just taking pictures of her without asking permission. And then her friend went, I will allow you to give you permission to take pictures of me if you can tell me what character I am. And it's quite obvious, Emma Frost has a very distinctive costume. They couldn't tell her. So what does that tell you about why you're taking pictures of her? The costume is quite revealing. So, it's creepy. It is creepy if you're just minding your own business, having cosplay, and then you get all these people just sneakily taking pictures of you.
Yeah, there is kind of a tradition, though, that if you're dressed in costume, you're open for photographs. But there again, maybe that's a tradition we need to change.
Oh yeah, we get the whole paparazzi thing. I think brings up the topic. Celebrities keep. They do, big Hollywood celebrities do keep getting their pictures taken without their permission, and I guess part of that, part of that idea of a paparazzi spills into conventions where people are taking pictures of other people in costume without asking their permission. But I think you're right. It needs to change. Just even if it's out of general courtesy, just walk up to the person and say, hi, I like your costume. May I take pictures of it?
Yes, that's just courteous.
Yeah, but it's a very simple. I think that's like a very simple move, but one that people don't do.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully things will change in the next few years. I mean, like you said, they're changing already. I mean, we've seen there's a Facebook group, a page on Facebook called Geeks About Consent. So they put con as in capital letters so that it puns on the word convention. And they were taking pictures at different conventions that all the rules about consent and not committing sexual assault, they were there in the lobby. They actually took pictures of it. They put it all up in the lobby so nobody could miss it while you're signing in, signing out. You can't miss it. So hopefully this is a best practice that conventions would solve. All conventions would eventually put up. But it's kind of sad that they have to do it, that they have to remind people not to harass other people.
That is sad.
Yeah. So one of the most important things that anti-violence against women and feminist activists are focused on is on changing cultural mindsets and social norms to ensure that the next generation grows up more egalitarian and less violent than the previous generations. So we've asked this question of so many authors, and they all have different answers. So how, in your opinion, can authors like yourself best support efforts to kick off social change to end violence against women?
Well, I raised my sons right. That's my biggest contribution. I said, if a woman means no, it doesn't mean, if she says no, it doesn't mean maybe, and it doesn't mean yes. If a woman says no, walk away. Walk away.
Yeah.
And I told them, what had happened to me, which was a very difficult conversation to have.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, don't be the person who does this to anyone, ever. Walk away. It's better for you. It's better for her. And I hope that makes a difference, because I would hate to think that that I contributed to the problem rather than the solution. And I think also I've shown a lot of women dealing with the aftermath of violence and sexual assault in my books, and I've tried to make that a fair depiction.
Mm-hmm.
Some women have stranger rape. They know the score from that. In Sookie's case, in the trunk scene, that was such a controversial one, though I don't know why I didn't think it was going to be. When Bill wakes up, he doesn't know where he is. He's disoriented. He's starved, and he goes for her. And part of that is sexually. And she knows him, and she's loved him. So she has very ambiguous feelings about it. Once he comes to himself, he understands, he withdraws, but I got a lot of criticism for the fact that she had any ambiguous feelings about it at all. To me, that was the realistic way to handle it, because if you've loved someone, if you still have big feelings for them, and you understand they're not in their right mind for whatever reason, you wouldn't have the same kind of feelings you do if you're raped by a stranger, if you're raped unexpectedly by somebody you're on a date with. I think you would have a lot of different feelings to deal with, and that's why I put it in the book. There's no one reaction that's the right one. there's no situation that is exactly like another, and you're going to get a different reaction from all that.
Yeah, I think what you just said also explains why, a lot of people in domestic violence, when it comes to domestic violence survivors, a lot of people will say, why didn't you just walk out? Why didn't you just walk away? And it's not that easy, if you're married to someone, you have a lot of mixed feelings, and also they've studies to prove it is dangerous to walk out, because
Yeah.
The first 6 months of walking out, a lot of women get killed in that first 6 months by their former husbands or partners, and
Yeah.
it's even more difficult when you add children to the mix. You have to take them with you, you take your pets with you, and it's not easy. And like you said, a lot of it is down to, people feel ambiguous, because part of you, I guess, still wants to believe that that person that you love couldn't have done that to you, but it's a process.
Yeah,
and
it's not as simple as you would think. It's just not.
No, and so basically, it's when I read that scene, and I had to, that you were talking about the trunk scene, and I had to stop. It wasn't triggering, but I had to stop, and I sort of chewed on it, and I thought, well, how was the sequence of events? It was someone pushed in the trunk. What's the name? It wasn't Dorina.
And the shapeshifter.
Alcide's crazy ex. Oh yeah, Debbie. And Debbie shoved her into the and Debbie shoved her in and locked her in, knowing full well what probably is going to happen. It happened, and then But I started thinking, like, at the end, she just got Sookie just got mad at both Eric and Bill, and just gave them the finger. That was funny, actually. She was bruised on top to bottom, after being beaten up by the hired wares, and and they were talking about it. And she just like managed to make her arms move and give them the finger. And I thought, I'm like 2 hands giving her the finger, and I thought, giving them the finger, and I thought, that's Sookie, and she's processing. And I thought, now that makes sense how she processed things after Bill raped her in the trunk. And it makes sense. It ties in a lot. It's not like many, like we see, like Charlaine was talking about her commitment to not including rape or sexual assault scenes in her books, and she gives some really, really great reasons. And but one of the reasons is, and this is something that I don't know if you met Chuck Wendig, the author Chuck Wendig. He writes urban fantasy and crime and young adult, and he's a huge outspoken male ally of the anti-violence against women and feminist movement. And he talks about how if you have to put a rape scene in a book, you have to think about it really, really hard. Does it serve the story, or are you just putting it in as to shock people?
Yeah, I get that, but I would never put. I've had 2 rape scenes in my book, well, 2.5 sort of, and I never have put them in if they weren't important to the character.
Oh, yeah.
In the Lily Bard book, it's the whole explanation of why she is the way she is, and then it's. I would never do that. It's just, I'm a survivor myself. I was raped 37 years ago by a stranger, and it shapes the rest of your life. It changes the way you think. It changes almost every aspect of your life, truly.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you did that. It's just, the other authors are talking about really thinking hard. Because that's why when I read the trunk scene, I was like, that's in character for, what do you think, what do you think would happen if you were locked in a trunk with a really hungry vampire, as part of that world? And I didn't feel it was gratuitous at all. In fact, I think it shows, Suki even more clearly as who she is because of the way she responded to the situation. And I think it was one scene after that, right, where she was in bed. They put her in bed after that incident, and Elsie, Eric, and Bill were all looking at her, and they were all really worried, and Bill was feeling really guilty, and then she suddenly burst out into laughter. And I thought, yeah, that's Suki, all right. She's not crazy, but she has, that's the way she copes.
Of the ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's what's so great about her. I think, when I had the Google Hangout chat with Joe Hill, he was talking about how the strongest people, one of the things that characterizes the strongest people he knows, is the ability to have a sense of humor and laugh at things when it gets really
absolutely tough. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's what I love about Suki, because she has that sense of humor, and I think if she didn't have it, she would have broken, she would have fallen apart long ago with all that upheaval in her life.
She wouldn't have got book 3.
Oh my goodness, no! I mean, she, and she. Yeah, I haven't read the final book in the series yet because I'm still searching for it. It doesn't seem to be in my local bookshop or any of the book fairs I've been to. So I'm still searching for it. Yeah, I have all the Suki Stackhouse books except for that one final book. And I'm just waiting for the end. Oh, and someone posted a spoiler in the questions. Oh no.
Well, someone posted a spoiler before the book was even out, and it led to just like a firestorm of hatred and cursing and terrible things. It was pretty awful.
Oh, I saw that, and I hadn't read it. Like I said, I haven't read the final book, and I was looking at it and I thought, huh, why is everyone up in arms? I mean, you as an author have the right to wrap up the story as you see fit. And I saw all that language and that visual, and I thought, oh, I loved the series too, and I want to see what happens in the end, but it's a bit harsh. And you know what Joe said, something that maybe we can also chat about a little bit before we move to the questions, is that he said that when I asked him, what authors can do to help with the social change, he said, tell the right stories. He was talking about telling the right stories. And it ties in with, it ties in what Chuck said about, when you want to include an element of violence against women and girls and children in your stories, think about how it serves the story. What's our message is getting out? Does it dovetail with the character or not? Does it move the story along? Like the truck scene totally moves the story along because Bill was held prisoner for Youngs while they were trying to rescue him. And anyway, I think we'll have one more question from me, and then we'll go to a question from Christian Hicks. So you have been. So this is a very, very. Captain Obvious question, but you have been so incredibly supportive of our Read Close campaign and our anti-violence against women work as a whole. So why do you talked about it? Great survivor. Why do you support the cause to end violence against women?
Oh my goodness. Women should be able to live their lives without getting beaten. It's just so obvious. Women shouldn't be beaten or punched or kicked or not only does it scar the woman, it scars the man who does it. It scars the children who witness it. It makes the violence extend into another generation very often. Women should be able to live their lives and say what they think without fearing physical retaliation. It's that simple. I just don't see how a society can miss that.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's conversation whereby we talk about women, talk about that to say no to stand out because you really don't know how he's going to react. Can he take no for an answer and we just walk away like the way you talk yourself? Or is he gonna stalk you or retaliate by humiliating you? It's all those things.
It's wrong. I mean, we've got to be able to stand up for ourselves without getting socked in the jaw.
Oh yeah. I mean, Margaret Atwood, there's a quote for her that says, men are afraid to laugh, and women are afraid that men will kill them.
Yeah. I think that's very true. Because that's what every woman fears from the moment they're born, that they're going to get caught alone somewhere and the worst is going to happen. You know, and that's a valid fear.
Yeah, it is, and it is. Oh, look, your dog's here.
Yeah, that's Rocky.
He doesn't look impressed. He just wants to look his bed.
Oh, no, he's 15 years old. He's a very old dog.
Yeah. Okay, so one more question. Do you think it's important for influential authors who are read all over the world make a conscious effort to include character, male and female, in your stories, the importance of respecting women?
I think that it's important to tell a good story or no one will read your books. The characters have to serve the story. And I believe in trying to have a wide variety of characters in my books, but I do like to have a strong woman protagonist because that's just the way I communicate. I don't like writing about people who are ineffectual. That just doesn't work for me. So I really like to write about people who are discovering themselves, who are moving forward, and who have no problem telling other people what they want or don't want. But still, the story is the king of the book.
Mm-hmm. You know what's striking about Sookie? It's that she's in a world that is full of violence, but she seldom resorts to violence herself.
She would rather not. She only resorts to violence when she has to, and one of the revelations she has in the book is that she will be violent rather than let herself be killed. She values her own life enough to deal out violence to defend it, and that's a big revelation for her.
Yeah. So, Christian Hicks asked, why did you have Sookie end up with?
I had Sookie possibly end up with a person who would make her the happiest. Because after all those books together, I wanted Sookie to be happy. I felt like I owed her that after all the time we'd spent together. Sookie always wanted to have children. She always wanted to live in the sun, and I wanted to give her that chance. Though I leave it deliberately up in the air as to whether she actually ends up with that character or not. She's hoping that will happen, but she's not planning on it because she knows after all the trouble she's been through that change is always right around the corner.
Mm-hmm. So, do you think of yourself as a feminist?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that, Regina.
Oh, are you a feminist? Do you think of yourself as one?
Oh, sure. Of course I am. Yes, I definitely do. It never crossed my mind not to.
Oh yeah. So what would you tell girls who publicly say that they're against feminism?
I think that it seems to me like there are younger women who are backing off from saying they're a feminist for some crazy reason because they have a picture in their head of feminists and it doesn't match what they are. They would not live such good lives if it wasn't for feminists. I remember well when we had to form Sisters in Crime because women crime writers weren't getting paid as much as guys. We weren't getting the reviews, which helped sell the books, and we sure weren't getting the respect. So I remember the bad old days, and I am saying that women now have it much better in the workplace than they ever did because of feminists, and I think they should be proud to wear that label.
Yeah. You keep telling them that, but I think they need a few more years.
Well, if they could live a day back in the 50s and 60s, they would sure understand.
Oh yeah, like do you watch Mad Men? Mad Men show that.
You know, I don't, but I lived the. I lived it, and I remember.
Okay, so yeah, because what was striking about I saw the first couple of seasons is that you saw where we were and how feminist characters they're literally drag the men into the next decade, the next level of respecting. They had to fight for it.
Yes, every step. That's why I hate to see women giving it up. I just hate it.
Okay, here's another question. How did you feel about their group? I hated the way it went so far off from the books.
Okay, the TV show. Well, there's a big difference between what looks good on film and what plays in a book, is my first observation. It did go very far off, but the writers just got the bit in their teeth and ran with it. They really ran with it. I would watch going, what? But they had the right to do that. They were really talented people in their own right, and they were writing what amused them. After a certain point, they thought, oh, well, you know, we'll just stop trying to stick to the books. I knew there was going to be a big difference to start with because the books are all in the first person. They're all told from Sookie's point of view, and a TV show can't be done that way. Now, my Aurora Tea Garden series is being brought to the Hallmark Channel, and that is like, you know, here's HBO and here's Hallmark, that you couldn't be further apart than those two. But I like the Hallmark adaptation, which is going to be on April 4th in the United States. That's Easter evening, and I like it. It's kind of de-Southernized, but it is very faithful to the book. And I thought, well, okay, okay, this is really different. But I enjoyed it. Making a deal with television or the movies isn't like making a deal with the devil. I'm not going to say that. But you have to decide whether you're going to say, no, I want to have control over this project, in which case it probably won't get made. Or you're going to have to say, you know, I've done the best I can. My books will always be on the shelf. I'm letting this idea go to someone else to see how they treat it. And you really have to walk away and not worry about it. That's the attitude I took, and it really stood me in good stead, because you can watch the show. It's entertaining. It's fun. The actors are beautiful. And you can read the books. They're still there.
Okay. Yeah, but you know, lately I've noticed that adaptations have been getting a lot better in the movies. Like Hunger Games, those are beautiful edits. They follow the book, and they somehow manage to distill the and get Katniss and the flesh.
Now, Game of Thrones is beginning to deviate quite a bit, but it's still great TV, and the books are still great. So I just love Game of Thrones. And Walking Dead is another adaptation that's very good.
Yeah, I watched. I haven't read the book yet, but really gripping television, and I'm kind of worried because George R. Martin is still writing the final 2 books, I think, and the television series is just running a bit of.
Oh, the books are wonderful. Those last 2 books are way overdue. Way overdue.
Yeah, you guys need a fan for when is he going to finish writing them? We'll have a rant about it. Okay, so I think we're going to wrap up now. And
Okay.
So I'm going to tell everyone about what you've donated, and to help us raise funds for the cause, Charlaine has donated one opportunity for one lucky donor to in her third and possibly final midnight book. And as a possible bonus, the character might recur at midnight. That right, Shirley?
Right, and I'm glad to do it. I hope it's an easy name to work in, but I'll manage.
Okay, so I'm gonna put up a little slide with. Can you see it?
I can.
Okay, so you can hop over to donate to you can donate to get Indiegogo at http://r4p Indiegogo and pay sensitive PayPal donors go to Resume. And find out more about Reading+Q&A at http://is.bd/topic. Okay. And if you want to find out more about the work that the Pixel Project does, go to www.thepixelproject.com. And remember, please donate generously, and even $1 counts. Having about it, Charlaine. $1 counts. One and done. Just put in that $1.
Every dollar mounts up.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Shirley. And thank you, everybody. I'll see you a little bit after this, Shirley. So stay on.
Okay.
Have a good day or good night wherever you are, everybody. And bye, guys.